Hi everybody, it's Chad Stewart here again with an assignment video for the Level 1 Week 4 assignment, which is the Wave assignment in Maya. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start at the home page on Canvas for your course. And if you go to the syllabus and scroll down to Week 4 for the assignment Character Waving Part 1, you will see a link right here to the basic animation rig. And if you click on that arrow, then you will see a download for the Miniman rig version 2019. That's the one we're looking for. Sometimes you'll see this 2017 one here. You can see I've downloaded it a few times. But that's what we're looking for is the 2019 version. And once you have downloaded this, you'll want to transfer it to a folder on your computer. Now you can really transfer it to a folder on any folder on your computer, but to show you kind of how Maya sets things up and where Maya is going to save things naturally, you'll go to your documents if you're on Windows and go to Maya. You'll see these are all the different versions of Maya I've had on this machine, but they all share the same project directory, and that's what you're looking for is projects. And you'll see your default project. These are other different projects I've created, including one for a different snowman. But the easy place to put it is in your default directory in scenes. I've got all sorts of different scenes here, but I can just click and drag this over here and it'll put it right there. Now when I open Maya, then I can show you, and this will be an easy way to find it, because you'll want to keep this rig what we call clean. So that means that you can always go back to a basic empty version of the rig with no animation on it. All right, so let's go to Maya now, and got a blank version of Maya here. I'm going to go to Open Scene, and immediately you can see that my current project is set to default. And when I say Open Scene, it's going to immediately go to the scene folder where I put that rig, which is right here at the top. Now I've got lots of other files, but this is an easy way to keep track of where that is. I can open this up, and you will see almost immediately this, unsupported nodes. Now that you can see that this was made in Maya 2019, and because of that, there are some changes. Sometimes this gets people worried, but I've seen this on, gosh, just about every project I've worked on. This is really not, if you're having issues with your file for some reason, a lot of times I get students asking me, well, I saw this sort of unsupported node error, is that it? It's not. Just hit OK, move on, it's perfectly fine. And here we have our rig. Now, I'm going to do a couple of things right off the bat. Now, you can see it's kind of gray and kind of dim and dark, and we're going to do some things to fix that. And you can do that to your original file, but I like to keep a copy of the file just completely as it is. So I'm going to go immediately to Save Scene As. And I'm going to make this, I could start with my animation file, I could give it a completely different name, but since I'm going to do some different things before we even get started in animation that are simply nice to have in the rig, I'm just going to do version 2. Now, we do this in the studios and we save a lot of different versions. That's in case a version gets corrupted and it crashes. And we can't find it or save it, or we have an error like this, then it gives us always a file to be able to go back to. Now, this is very apropos and very convenient that this error comes up, because This file contains unknown data, which is preventing Maya from changing the file format. Again, this is a pretty standard thing that happens when you're working with Maya. Now, this makes people very nervous, and I hit OK, and I did not save. You can see I have this error down here, and I have not saved the file. Now, there's a reason for this, and it has to do with this little extension at the end, .ma. And when you go and you see Save Scene As, you can see that I am trying to save it as a .mb. So there are two types of files, which we talked about in the last assignment video, Maya ASCII and Maya binary. Now, once you get started in one, Maya doesn't like to switch. So the original rig that you download is a .ma file or a Maya ASCII file. And you can see here, I was trying to save it as a Maya binary file. So if you ever see that you can't save, this is the fix. You switch it back to .ma. I hit version 2. We hit Save As, and it saves just fine. Okay, so now I want to do some things that are going to make my my snowman look a little bit better. He looks a little down in the dumps, a little almost kind of gray, not so much like snow. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to have to open up the scary rendering editor, the Hypershade. And once I open that up, I can bring this over here. Now, when you see it start to do this, like you'll see it like when I sort of pull this over here. If you see it start to like get transparent like that, it means it's about to dock the window into this and kind of take up all this space. I really don't like having the Hypershade docked in my window, so I'm just going to try to pull it out over here out in front, and then I can move it away. But I'll make it a little bit smaller so I can still see some of the things that are going on here in the window. Now, if I click on the head of the snowman, you'll see a lot of these different things. Now, actually, before I do that, you might be seeing, if I go to show and I show everything, you might see something that looks kind of like this, with these little, all these little extra things. And I'm going to talk about those. I'm not going to jump ahead to the snowman's skin just yet. I'm going to back up and talk about what these different things are. Now, these sort of circular rings around the different body parts are what we call controls. Those are technically NURBS curves, but as part of the rigging process, those are the things that we want to grab a hold of that are going to help us to access and move the character. Now, what they are actually selecting are the joints. And you can see there are these joints inside of the skeleton of the snowman. And they are the skeleton of the snowman. And the skin of the snowman is attached to those joints. But we don't need to see them. And in fact, it can actually make it a little bit harder and worse to see them when we are working. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up by only displaying what we need to see, which will help in memory, help things move a little bit more efficiently. So the easiest way to do this, you can see if I go to the viewport, show viewport, everything that is active right now, and I want to turn it all off. And I'm only going to bring back a couple of things right now. So show viewport, and I'm going to go to polygons, which is going to bring back the skin. Now, when I make a play blast, this is how I want it to look. So I can always do that. I can always go to show none, and then go to just polygons and make my play blast. This makes it all nice and clean. But I also need those controls because I need to select those controls. So I'm going to go to viewport and do NURBS curves right here. You can see that these have hotkeys, Alt 1 and Alt 2, because these are very, very common and very often used things that we want displayed. So now this is kind of how I had it brought in, and this is what I want it to look like when I'm animating. I want to be able to see those curves, and I want to be able to see the polygons or the skin. Now, if I go here and I click this, you can see that now, well, everything is kind of different in each viewport. That's because each viewport has its own set of show controls. So, so if I want to set them all to this setup, I have to individually do this. And if I see the wireframe and not the skin like this, well, I can hit the 3 key. Actually, gosh, I always do this. I'm going to hit the 4 key and the 5 key. There we go. So I always lose track of which number is which. But 4 is wireframe, 5 is shaded, and 6 will show textures, which we're not going to work with. 1, 2, and 3 are going to show smoothness, and so 5, but just like I did, if you are in doubt, you can work your way up through the numbers until you find the one that you want. Now, most of the time, I tend to just like to work in the perspective viewport. Now, if you don't remember exactly how I'm going back and forth, if you hover your mouse over a window and you tap the space bar, you can go back and forth between those. So now let's talk about making the snowman look a little bit more like a snowman. So if I click on the skin like this, and I have the hypershade open, I can go to Edit, and I can say Select Materials from Object. So that basically is going to say, I want to see which of these materials is assigned to the skin of this object. And that would bring up this standard surface 1. Now, I can change that name if I want, and I could say snowman skin. And that is going to give me all sorts of information here to play with. Now, I'm not going to get into rendering in the viewport, rendering in a render engine, but there are some reasons why that it's displaying this way, and I'm going to just try to give you enough information to say I can make it look better in my Play Blast by making some of these adjustments to the materials. Now I'm going to scroll down. You're going to see in this snowman skin and that I've just named, this material that's on the snowman. There are a lot of different buttons and things that I could push. I'm going to scroll down to emission, and I am going to put weight up just a little bit. And this is just, without explaining this too much, I don't want to go here because it's going to just turn it completely white. I'm just going to try to say, that there's a little bit of light, basically, that's going to come out of this. And I can do this with all of the different surface shaders here. You can see that this green one is associated with the scarf. If I want to make that a little bit brighter, I can do that. If I want to make the carrot a little bit brighter on his nose, and if I want to make the wood just a little bit brighter on his arms, like this. Now, this right here could be enough, and that could work for us. But I'm going to do a couple more little things that can make it look even better. Now, these buttons up here in the viewport, and again, this is for each and every window. So if you're doing this for multiple, if you want this to show up in multiple windows, you're going to have to do it, every time in the window controls. Now you can see I have this little one already pressed. When I unpress this, you can see I get a little jagged edge. I'm going to click on that, and that's going to smooth that out. Now this would allow me to create and see everything with the lights on. Now, when I do that, I get kind of a weird effect, and that's because there's some light coming out of the snowman. That's what the emission is there's a little light coming out of the snowman, but that's not how I want this to look. So I'm going to create a new light, and I'm going to go to Create, and I want you to create a directional light. Now, I can't see this light because I have only got NURBS curves and polygons displayed. So I'm going to go back to Show, go back to the Viewport, and then I'm going to go down here to Lights. When you turn that on, you can see the lights are displayed. But it doesn't really change anything when I'm moving this around because I have not turned the lights back on. So when I do, now you can see I get a little bit of a shadow. And as I move this around, I get a little bit of a shadow moving around. Now, but I don't get shadows on the ground. So that's these buttons here are going to work with that. So, but I wouldn't see any shadow on the ground right now because I don't have a ground to work with. So I'm going to go to the Poly Modeling tab here. I'm going to click on this one, which is a plane. And then I'm going to scale that plane up like this. And then I am going to go back and select my light. And I'm going to click on Shadows. And this is what we call ambient occlusion, which is just going to make a little bit of the shadows around the creases and the edges. Now, as I move this light, you can see that the shadows are moving, but the shadows themselves are kind of chunky and kind of choppy. And so I need to do one more adjustment to this, and that is when I grab the light, I need to go to the attribute editor, which is going to be in a tab right here. I'm going to click on this shadows, and I'm going to, instead of, by default, it's going to be using these ray trace shadows, and I'm going to use depth map shadows. Now that initially seems like everything gets a little chunkier, and I can adjust these right here. I'm going to make this resolution kind of quite a bit bigger, and then I'm going to use this filter, and this filter is going to now make everything a little bit softer. Now I can continue to play with all of these different sliders, including the slider of the material, and I'll do one more thing. And now again, this is usually not the greatest thing to do, but it will work for our purposes. If I go to the intensity here and I up the intensity, you can see as I do this, I get a little bit darker kind of edge shadow here, and I get a feel to the snowman, and kind of play back and forth with this emission, and get something that that looks much nicer to work with. Now, once I've done this, this will work really well in my rig as a default setting. So I can save version 2 like this, and now if I want to start with a clean, empty rig that is a little bit nicer, I can do that with this file. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the control of the rig itself, and all of these different colored lines and kind of what they do and what they mean. Now, personally, I don't like to show anything that that I'm not going to be using. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn off lights. Now, just because I don't display the light, it doesn't mean that the light is not still there and working. So I don't have to have it turned on in the viewport for it to work and illuminate the character. Now, if occasionally you happen to turn that off and on, that is going back to default lighting. If you want to use your light, you create more than one of these. You can turn that off and on with that button. All right. Now, a rig is a series of joints and controls that are connected to the skin of the character. Now, you can see this if you go to Windows and go to the outliner. I've got the outliner open here in a tab. And in the outliner is just a window that's going to tell us everything that's in our file. So I've got my perspective, my top, my front, my side camera. I've got the light that I just turned on. This is the floor plane. And I can always select these objects by just clicking on them in this window. And you can see that this is the snowman. And the snowman rig, there are so many different things that are, if it's grayed out like this, it means it's hidden. When you open this up, if it's a little curve like this, it means it's a NURBS curve, but it also can have things that are sort of layered underneath it. Now, I'm not going to get into rigging and how this all works. I know some people are very interested in that. But I show you this to say, if you start messing around and moving things up and down and around, or accidentally delete something out of this, it will break the rig, which means your animation that you've done won't work effectively. So if you see something kind of looking weird or being weird, you can hit the undo button a number of times to see if you can go back, and sometimes you'll realize that you may have accidentally deleted something. I only show you this so that you know it's there, not so that you will mess with it. This is kind of to use the Emperor's New Groove phrase, no touchy. And in the studios, they actually do label many of these with DNT, or do not touch, because the animators are notorious for breaking rigs. Okay, so let's go through this though, and let me show you what all of these different controls will do. There's two rings here at the bottom. Now, if you click on the center ring, you will see that I can move this center ring out away from the other ring, but it will always live underneath. What that means is the snow master is this big ring, and the snow body here is the little ring, which means anytime I move the snow master, it moves everything else along with it. Now, that is exactly what the snow master is for. It is to set it in a general location and then leave it there. Now, there's a reason for this, because it's always nice to be able to go back to a default position and know you can. In order to do this, if you click on a control, like the body here, and I go up here to the channel box, and I hit 0, it will bring it all the way back. Now, so it's nice to know that that's a 0 position place. If I have a reason to move the character someplace other than just the center of screen for the start position, like I want it to start kind of being over, in this direction like this. Well, now I can set it there, and then I'm just going to leave it alone, because now I can use the body node to actually do the animation that I want to do. Now, I'm not going to do that just yet, because I'm going to still go through all of the different other controls. So that's the master and the body node. And again, I'm just going to zero this back out, put it right back in the middle. So the next circle we see up here is the spine. Now, the spine node is kind of a waist, if you will, for the snowman. And if I rotate this around, the snowman's skin will kind of stretch and move along with it. I can also move it and break it in just a bunch of different wonderful ways. It's up to you as the animator to be able to keep this from looking too strange. Now, I can, kind of move it up if I want to create a different version of, a snowman. So it gives me a lot of flexibility and allows me to make some different decisions. You'll also see in the channel box there is an extra control called squash and stretch. Now this control, if I use my middle mouse button and hold it down in the viewport and I go left and right, you will see that it is going to squash and stretch my entire snowman. This is part of the rig. It's meant to be used, but the only way you can access it is through this one control right here in the channel box with your middle mouse button on that waist or spine control that you see on the lower body. Now, the arm controls are pretty self-explanatory. You'll see that you cannot, if you try to move them, you will not be able to. It won't let you. I have locked that out. The only thing you can do with the arm controls is you can rotate them and you can scale them in only one direction. So if you want to make the arms longer for some reason or shorter, you're able to do that as well. Now, if I want to scale this out and bring it back to a normal position, well, if I want to rotate this and bring it to a normal position, I hit 0. But on scale, I need to hit 1. If I hit 0, it's going to make it disappear completely. So I want to make sure that when I'm going back to a default position with my scale node, that I always use the 1 instead of 0. Now, you can see there are some rotate controls here with the scarf. I have left this one open, so this one I can take completely away. If I do, and I take this away, it is still going to move around. It's still part of what we call the hierarchy, so it still lives there. So generally speaking, that end is open so that if I want to, I can put it in a different place. If I want to put it on the other side, underneath here, and have one snowman with it on his right side and one with his left or one in the center, I'm able to do that on that top one. And then I can rotate the scarf to curve and do many things like this. I have a hand control here that will do all 3 fingers. I have individual finger controls, and I can scale those individually if I want to get a little bit of a unique feel to each of the fingers, like they're different sticks. So you can see here I'm hitting the Z key. No, I don't have to hit Control Z. I'm just hitting the Z key to undo all of those different things. Up here we have the head, which is the same as the spine. We can move it around and we can break it, but most of the time we're just going to rotate it a little bit. And then this gets us into the face. Now there's the circle around the face that will move all of the individual pieces. Any place I want to go as a group. So if I want to kind of move the face of a snowman up here, kind of move it to a different part globally on his face like this, and just have a snowman with a face that's higher than one that's lower. Then I can do that. I can also move the individual pieces and make a different facial expression, a frown. And I can you can see that, though, if I move to the side, that they are sort of pulling away. It's always my responsibility as the animator to make sure that I am keeping the face pieces connected to the snow. So you want to always look from different angles like this. And I can scale out the carrot and make it bigger. So there's a lot of different things I can do to change the look of my snowman if I want to. Now, at any point, I can get back to my original position of my snowman by just left click and drag over all of these controls. I'm going to shift select the floor because I don't really need that. But I can go up into the channel box, and in all the translate and rotate, hit 0. And in all the scale, hit 1. And it will bring me back to the original default position of my snowman. Now that I am ready to do this, now that I've kind of understand my rig and I'm ready to get into animation, the first thing I want to do is save a new animation file, because, as I said, I want to keep a default of my rig that I can use if I want to bring in and create more snowmen, or if I want to do a different scene later on with him. I don't have to re-download him and go through this whole process over again. So I'm going to save this scene, and then I'm going to go to Save Scene As, and here I'm going to put in Wave Assignment version 1. And I'm just going to save that file. Again, it won't let me save unless I save it as a .ma. So make sure you do that. Sometimes by default, Maya just picks one or the other, and you get that error. So now I'm ready to go, and I want to, the first thing I want to do now is be creative. And I'm going to come up with different ideas. One of the most common assignments I will see with the snowman wave is this. Because the wave assignment, you are tasked with making a character wave 4 times. Now, technically, right here, I have made the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I press play, well, now I get a character waving. But this is not really the intention of the assignment. I want you to come up with a scenario, be creative, and just use the wave as a sort of a guide to get you started. This technically meets the requirements, but this is not what I want you to do. I want you to do something that's more creative, more fun. And so in this case, the first thing you might want to do is come up with an environment, a setting for the snowman. So I can create some different polygons here. And I can, let's create a bit of a cube. We'll just kind of put this in the back. You can do all sorts of different things. If you hit Control D, it will duplicate whatever you have selected. You can scale and move these things around. Control D again. and do this with a bunch of different pieces. If I want to create other objects, I can create all sorts of different objects. Now, modeling is a, let me just make sure, yeah, I did create another one in there. Modeling is a term we use to give you the information of creating and moving different things around. Now, if you want to do this, if I right-click here on an object and I go to vertex, I can grab this and I can start shaping this. Now, if I hit the 3 key, it's going to make this sort of smooth out. So if I hit the 3 key and begin to use a vertex here like this, I can begin to mold these. Now, if I go to face, I can grab the face. I don't want vertex face, I want actual face. And I can move the face around and begin to scale and shape these. Now, this allows me to create something that's just a little bit more unique than simply squares and things around my snowman. And I could sort of create a series of different pieces or snowballs or whatnot. I can also, and let me do this one more thing, grab this one, just kind of scale it out wide like this. Now, whenever I'm going back and forth with vertex, face, you can also do edge. Whenever I want it to come back to a normal place where I'm just working with it, I'm going to go to object mode. That means that it's just going to look green and I can move it around and kind of shape everything that way. Now, I can also bring in multiple characters and I can import those characters in. I'm going to move my main snowman sort of over here to the side. And I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to open up that option box. Now, I don't want audio. I could pick just, on my ASCII, or I could go down to, I think there's an all files or a best guess. But my ASCII, and then when I bring this in, there's a number of different things to do. Use namespaces. This will make it a little bit easier to keep track of if you have this checked and you put this here, because now I can name Snowman 2 or Snow 2. So I'm going to hit import. It's going to allow me to go and find. I can bring in my my rig that I've adjusted. Now, the reason it's brighter, and this I forgot to do, is I saved this with a floor plane and also a light. So now, if I go to my outliner, you can see that I have a Snow 2 directional light. It imported anything that was in that file. So I'm just going to go and delete that, and this will go back to the way it was. So sometimes you have to clean that up, and sometimes that's easy to do in the outliner. Now I'm going to click on the master node, and I can scale the whole character smaller. And as I talked about, if I want to make it a little bit different with a face kind of up here, I can move this around a bit. And now I have some differences already. And I can also change the color of the scarf. Now, if I go to the hypershade, you can see that it also imported in all new material. So now, if I want to change the color of the scarf, I just have to click on this, and when I change this color, let's say to blue, it will change the color of the scarf. And I can make the skin or some different things. But this allows me to begin to start to create a different environment. And I'm going to do one more thing, and that's on the ground plane. Now, it's perfectly flat like it was ice, and that's fine. You can leave it that way, that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to make a little bit of a hill here by doing a little bit of modeling on the ground. Let me go to a face here. Now, you can see that I have this sort of yellowish that's happening around it. If I grab this face and I hit the B key on my keyboard, that yellowing goes away. If I hold the B key down and I use my middle mouse button, you can see that I get this larger area that's growing around that. Now, this is called soft select. And this means that when I move this, and hold on, when I move this, it's kind of stuck in soft select here. It's not letting me get out of it. Okay. I'm going to see if I can do this again. Sometimes Maya gets a little weird. There we go. That's working the way it's supposed to. Now I can kind of move some of these up and down and create little hills. And you can see they're kind of sharp. So if I hit the 3 key, it's going to kind of smooth those out. Now if I go to object mode, now I have kind of a little snowy area like this. So I'll do this over again because it was a little weird. But if you hit the B key, well, first you want to go to face, right click over the plane and go to face. Then if you hit the B key, it will turn soft select off and on. If you hold the B key down and your middle mouse button, it will allow you a different range. And then that should work when you move this around. Then to go back to the object mode, then right click on the plane again and go to object mode, and you're set. Okay, so now I am ready to animate, but I'm going to do one more thing to make this just a little bit easier, and that's going to be on this tab here. Now you'll notice when I hit the channel box that down here there are some layers. This layer, if you hit the visibility key, it's going to allow you to turn off and on certain things that are already connected. And I've already made layers for these different snowmen. But sometimes it's nice to get rid of some of these pieces. So I'm going to select all of these pieces back here. And I could either just create a new layer, or if I have things selected, I can create a layer right here. And if I double click on this, I can say ice. And hit save. Now I can turn this off and on. Now I'm going to make one for the ground as well. And double click this. Hit the ground. And now I can turn that off and on. But sometimes when I'm selecting my controls here, it gets in the way of the selecting. Like if I want to select the control, sometimes I end up selecting this. And if I click this button right here twice until it says R, well, now it will not allow me to select that. So it's easier to work with by having this, what we call referenced. And I can do that with any of these different things. If I don't want to be able to select the snowman head, then I can turn this to reference here and this to reference here. Now I can still select the eyes and the face, but if I do this, I only select the control. So this makes it, again, just a little bit easier when we're animating. Now, I'm going to start making just a quick little piece of animation. And I'll just have the character move from one position over here and set a key on both of these. And in the middle here, I'll have a little bit of rotation like this. So you get my character sort of moving forward like this. And then I'll maybe have it turn. And I'm just going to do a little bit. You can see I've still got that wave in there that's happening. And, you know, I don't want to just leave it in a typical position. Now, this is something you can see that now I've made it happen, you know, like it's a little kind of tilted for the whole thing. And I can do that, or I can go in and set individual keys on these pieces as well. Set that key here, and set that key like this, so that I get a little bit of, you know, variation. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time with the animation right here. I feel like I've given you enough information to be able to do some animation on your own. But this is where, you know, you would spend the time kind of figuring out what is my animation going to be. And once you are ready, now you are going to be able to play blast your video. Because first you want to save your file. So go up here, save it. You might want to version up, but save that file, and then you're going to want to get it ready for a play blast. So when you're ready for the play blast, you don't need these NURBS curves. So you'll go and turn these off. And you can see here, I've got a little setting with the wave. I could do some more animation on this character here and do all of that. Once I've set it up, now I'm ready to play blast. And I'm going to go right click on the timeline, go to the option box, and go through the whole thing. It should be set up from the bouncing ball the same, but QuickTime or AVI is usually a pretty good one to use from render settings. You might want to check your render settings. You know, click up here on this clapboard with a gear and go down and change this to HD 1080 or 720. You can hit close. Make sure you're saving to a file, and you don't want to do this movie file because that's on my rig. So I'm going to browse. You can see that it's going to default in my project, that default folder. It's going to put them in movies. So I'm going to say Wave version 1, hit save, hit play blast, and now I have my video that I'm ready to turn in. I have saved my file on my computer, and I am ready to turn this video in for a review. All right, so now I'm going to go to Google Drive, and an easy way to do this is go back to Canvas. The student will upload their animation in a movie file to their student folder labeled Week 4 Character Wave Part 1. So here I click on this, and it's going to open up my Google Drive for me. And then I can go to my student folder, which is going to be my name. I'm going to go to Character Wave Part 1. And I could either click and drag it right into this open area. Remember, I don't want to put it in the review file. That's where my review is going to go. Or I could go New File Upload. And in this case, I'm going to go to Documents and Maya, my projects, default, and then it's going to go to movies. Now, there's all sorts of movies. I named it Wave version 1. So I find that, hit open, and it is going to upload this. AVIs tend to be kind of large files, especially coming out of Maya. So usually it takes a little time. QuickTime are smaller. And if you can use those, that's perfectly fine. Sometimes it saves space in your Google Drive to do that. But it doesn't take too long usually. Now, once it is here, again, just a reminder, a lot of times students want to click on it, check it. The video is still processing. Sometimes that takes up to 20 minutes. Sometimes it'll be done in about 5. But go back and double check that. But now your assignment is turned in and you are ready to go. So if you have any questions, please email me. But otherwise, have a great week and good luck on your animation.